Grazie ancora molto.
So thank you very much.
Io seguo da tempo.
For some time now, at the Sapienza University, I've been monitoring international cooperation affairs and the most appropriate instruments for international development cooperation. Today, we're talking about getting the private sector involved in the famous PPP mechanism. In my view, if you apply public-private partnerships to the Third World, particularly Africa, it's going to be very difficult and give rise to considerable perplexity. We've heard a fairly upbeat statement from Mr. Rodolfi, while others have said getting the banking sector involved in special projects. Again, they were being rather optimistic. Now, I'm going to strike a more pessimistic note. As far as I'm concerned, it would be extremely difficult to use project financing in specific development cooperation projects because of two fundamental concerns. The need for long-term development projects and the need to have well-defined norms and standards applying. And both of those are very precarious in developing countries. We're talking about Africa anyway. And in other parts of the world, the situation may be even more complex. So, as far as I'm concerned, it would be very hard indeed to persuade the private sector, private investors, to organize projects that they could take to the bank with a low risk profile and which it would be feasible to fund. In all likelihood, at the time of greatest EU commitment, and we do need to wake up the European Union, as it's got another bogged down with the population, we need to develop a fresh set of instruments. Now, as Mr. Deva has pointed out, it's very important to be able to obtain access to a range of funds in the shape of grants and getting research centres with direct experience in the field on board. So we need to bring people together in development cooperation in an effective model. Now, none of the previous speakers has mentioned cooperation policy worked on by any foundation. It carries out investments in the field of cooperation and it assesses the energy resources of the countries it works with, and it's been working with a number of very unstable countries, but it isn't a financing system as such. Rather, you have an exchange between those who want to use energy resources and in return offer social development projects, schools, hospitals and similar infrastructures. So, in my opinion, project financing undoubtedly is a very effective means of increasing the flow of capital in sectors and regions who need it, particularly at the current juncture where the countries are broke, they're up to their necks in debt. The prospect of using public funding, public guarantees is dwindling every day. But for project financing, you need a whole range of instruments a set of standards that will provide you with guarantees that they will actually work. Project financing implies that someone is going to stump up the money for a major rural electricity project, let's say, and will have the necessary cash flow for 20 years. Now, bear in mind that you need to establish whether a project such as that would be feasible in South Sudan. We've been taking part in a project put to the Italian development community, and I trust this will come to Brussels. The Central African community working on rural electricity projects, building on the approach used by the World Development Bank in Morocco. The point I'm making is that choosing the kind of projects you're going to pursue will have a bearing on the level of interest amongst potential investors. Electrifying the countryside is a fundamental infrastructure for development, but how are you going to deliver that rural electrification? Are you going to have solar generators delivered directly to farmers for the purposes of their work? Well, the idea is to create an atmosphere which is encouraging to investment, generating electricity. You develop farming to an extent thanks to microcredits, and you increase the level of local ownership. You create an environment that's favourable to investment. But looking to the longer term, people saying kind of project financing in the south of Italy. I mean, you know, it's part of Italy, and this would be an innovative type of funding. So to shake things up a bit, within the European Parliament and the other European institutions, I would commend you looking into a set of standards you might apply to make it feasible to bring project financing into rural development projects in developing countries. Thank you.